Hey everyone, it's Allie, and with the release of the Path of Exile to early access getting closer and closer every single day, I've seen a lot of people be conflicted on what they should try out and play at the start of the early access. What I want to do today in this video was go over all of the different playstyles and options that you have, and hopefully potentially make it a little bit easier for you to choose what you want to play. No matter what you pick, I hope you have a lot of fun with it, and I hope you enjoy your time. And I want you guys to remember that there's going to be no such thing as a meta in PoE 2 to begin with. Nobody knows what's good, nobody knows what's strong, and honestly, everything is as viable as each other as far as we're aware. So just go on, pick whatever seems fun to you, try it out, have fun with it. If it doesn't work out, well, it's not like this is a PoE season where you have to rush to make a lot of money at the start of it, otherwise you fall behind. You just have 6 months to enjoy and see all the different classes and see which builds are fun to you. We're going to give a brief overview of each of the ascendancies and each of the classes and what you could expect out of potential builds for them. And at the end, I'm going to give you some recommendations on what I might personally pick for all the different playstyles. First off, let's start with the casters. For casters, you're going to have 4 options, 2 on the witch and 2 on the sorceress. If you want to start with the witch, we're going to have both the blood mage and the infernalist as your options. The blood mage is going to mostly deal with her own life, where you're heavily incentivized to stack as much life as possible, which is going to give you a lot of additional crit damage. And there's going to be a potential playstyle on it where instead of stacking as much life and being super healthy, you instead want to have as little life as possible and you want to constantly be completely drained, which is then going to synergize with something like low life and the other benefits that Blade Mage is going to give you to then ramp your damage while potentially building around energy shield instead of having a big life pool. Blood Mage, no matter what, is going to be a crit-based ascendancy, so if you want to do big, beefy spell casts, Blood Mage is going to be a great option for that. If you're more interested in a minion playstyle or something based around fire, the Infernalist is going to be the option for you, where the Infernalist has the option to have a Hellhound with her at all times, which takes a portion of the damage for you, which is honestly really neat, while at the same time having a demon form that, while you're inside of, empowers all of your spells to do more damage and gives you a ramping cast speed increase, meaning the longer you're in the demon form, the more you're just going to pretty much shoot a billion projectiles all over the place and just delete everything instantly. The cool thing about it is that with Bringer Flame, if you choose to, you can instead play some sort of ignite build where either your minions are igniting for you or you are applying ignites. It's going to allow you to potentially transform a cold or lightning skill into a fire and ignite skill, given that's going to allow all damage to contribute to ignites, not necessarily just fire. It should be a really fun ascendancy, and I'm excited to see what the few nodes that we don't know about on Infernalist do, as I'm sure we'll get some pretty interesting gameplay out of it. If you want something that's going to make you think and it's going to be a little bit more tactful, then the Chronomancer is going to be a great option, where you can stop time, you can rewind your cooldowns, you could rewind your location, and while they've given us very few nuggets of information on it, given that GG is making a time-based ascendancy, I could expect some cool things out of this that maybe potentially accelerate the speed of your dots, allowing you to play any sort of dot build on it, or maybe like echo all of your spells and all of your damage on enemies for a second time a short while after the initial hit, or any sort of other really cool things. Given they've shown us rewind time and reset your cooldowns and freeze all enemies, the design space of Chronomancer seems pretty expansive. Finally, if you want more of just a traditional spellcaster, maybe focusing on a lot of cast speed so you throw out a bunch of spells really quickly, the Stormweaver is going to be a great option. We, again, don't know too much about it, but from what we can see here is it's just going to give you general benefits to using lightning spells specifically. And from the lightning skills that we've seen, some of them, such as Ball Lightning, Arc, and Spark, are looking to just be really strong off the bat, meaning you should be able to spam quite a lot of projectiles all over the place and have a pretty good time seeing everything just get AoE down. I don't think Stormweaver is going to necessarily have anything weird, kind of like how the Chronomancer could just freeze time. I just think a lot of the nodes for it are mostly just going to be generic fantasy spellcaster, which honestly sounds pretty fun to play. There's also going to be a crit build on it with Tempest Caller that's going to make it so any crits that you do are going to trigger extra storms all over the place, which honestly sounds pretty cool, as you'll just be able to fill the screen with a bunch of different storms while also doing all of your spell casts, which are going to, make even more projectiles be all over the place. So it should be a pretty fun and interesting spellcaster. If spellcasting is not a thing and you want to play melee instead, well, if you want to play some sort of big, beefy guy that just either sits there and takes everything to the face or just destroys everything on the screen in a few seconds, then the Warrior is going to be a great option. We have the Titan as the first option, which is going to focus around slams, which are going to be big upfront hits that are going to hit in a large area and just pretty much aim to one-shot everything on screen. If something isn't going to get one-shot, it's going to heavily incentivize you to be able to stun, and you're going to get quite a lot of damage to stun enemies, meaning that if something doesn't get hits, it'll be stunned and then it'll pretty much die to the next hit. Those are going to get aftershocks, which just makes all of your stuns have a chance to echo their damage a few seconds later, which look really interesting in my opinion. But if big, massive two-handed weapons and big upfront hits are your thing, the Wordbringer might be another interesting playstyle for you to pursue. This is mostly going to deal with buffing yourself and getting help from spirits, as you're going to be able to summon spirits every time you summon a totem, which will go out and help you in combat. And at the same time, it's going to heavily focus on war cries, which are buffs that you can give to yourself that then empower your next few attacks afterwards, making them substantially stronger. Warcaller's Bellow is looking to be a really interesting node where you just blow up any corpses that are near you when you press a war cry, meaning you kill one or two monsters in the pack and then just watch everything else die. And if all that wasn't enough for you, Jade Heritage is going to literally give you a button that allows you to encase yourself in Jade and just immediately become immune to all damage as long as you're holding down the button. Should be pretty fun and should be pretty interesting and give you some pretty fun gameplay where you just don't move out of boss abilities and just tank them with your Jade ability. If you're more interested in martial arts and some sort of fighter playstyle, then the Monk is going to be for you. You have the Invoker, which is going to mostly focus around cold and lightning skills, as well as it potentially giving you a melee version of what is available on the Stormweaver, where you're going to be able to do a bunch of melee crits and trigger a bunch of elemental expressions, which are different waves of elemental damage all over the place that honestly look pretty cool from the showcase that they've done of them. It should be a really enjoyable class to play, as all of the staff skills that they've shown are mostly combo based, where you either want to do a bunch of one attack and then swap to the other attack, or you implant some sort of debuff on the enemy and then you can use other attacks to manipulate the debuffs, or just spawn a bell that if you then hits everything around you. It's very martial artist themed. A lot of the skills are also dashes, which give you quite a lot of mobility around your screen, and it should just honestly probably feel really good to play, especially if you're into fighting games. I think it'll be a pretty good take on what a fighting game character might feel like in an ARPG. If that's not your thing, but you still are interested in martial arts, the Acolyte Shayula is going to be a more occult take on the Monk. This is going to deal with chaos damage, as well as giving you large amounts of recovery, and as well as augmenting how the game plays in general, with things like Embrace the Darkness, where you lose the ability to have auras, but instead you get darkness, which can tank some damage for you. But if you manage to not get hits, and if you manage to keep the darkness up, it can potentially give you a lot of increased damage. There's going to be little flames that you can pick up off the ground, which are going to massively empower you for a few seconds. And in my opinion, Acolyte Shayula is the Ascendancy I'm looking forward to the most, as there's some potentially really interesting and neat builds on it. If that's not your thing, and you just want to play some sort of range character and you like bows, then you might want to consider the Ranger. The Deadeye is honestly going to be a lot like the range version of a Titan, where its nodes are a lot more simple and generic, allowing you to pretty much play whatever bow skill you're interested in. So if you just want to shoot a bunch of arrows all over the place and do a bunch of lightning arrows and frost waves and ignite enemies from afar, Deadeye should be really simple, really fun, and it should pretty much give you everything you need to just fill the screen with as many arrows as possible. If you're more interested in a poison-based playstyle, then the Pathfinder might be a great option, as this will give you a pretty large benefit to your poisons, allowing you to double the amount that you can have, as well as allowing them to spread all over the place. And there's a lot of really cool combo skills that you're going to have access to on the Pathfinder that interact with each other in really neat ways, such as a poison bomb you can put down that makes a cloud, which you can then ignite with a fire skill to make it explode and do extra damage. And I think you're going to find some really interesting and neat combos, as well as Pathfinder's is going to have really great clear, given all of its poisons are just going to automatically spread every time you kill an enemy with them. Finally, if bows aren't your thing, but you're interested in a rage character, we have the Witchhunter. My God, is this Ascendancy just so cool. You don't even have to play this as a range character. You can play the Witchhunter as a spellcaster, a melee user, a minion build, anything you want, as the Witchhunter is just very interesting Ascendancy. A lot of Witchhunter is going to be themed around you just chunking enemies for large portions of their health at once, with things such as Judge, Jury, and Executioner giving you Decimating Strike, which just instantly chunks a portion off of every monster's health when you first hit them, including bosses, meaning that if you want to play some sort of bosser, Witchhunter is going to be great, as you effectively get to ignore up to 40% of a monster's health up front through all the ways you can just chunk it for free. This is going to have great clear, because Zealous Inquisition just gives you a way to constantly explode corpses around you, and if you farm some sort of undead or demon-based content, such as Beyond or Breach, then it's going to be twice as good, and it's just going to destroy everything. It'll honestly feel pretty fun to play. Crossbows, in my opinion, are probably the coolest thing that are coming for PoE 2, and everyone in my chat, every time we talk about them, is super excited and giddy about them, including myself. Honestly, they have a good reason, as the different ammo types. They're going to have access to crossbows, a different playstyles where you can turn it into a shotgun or a semi-assault rifle or a sniper rifle or any in the in-betweens, and all the different ammos you can put on them just seem really cool, really interesting, and make for what seems like pretty fun and engaging gameplay, especially because now we have access to WSD moving instead of click to move, which should feel really good, allowing you to move around with one hand and then aim with the other. In my opinion, I think all the ascendancies are great. GG did a great job with all of them, and a lot of them are just fun and interesting. If you want my opinion on what I think you should pick if you're still undecided, is if you're more interested in a generic spellcaster, I'd probably either pick the Blood Mage, as it has a very easy way to scale through stacking a lot of life, meaning you shouldn't have too much of an issue figuring out what stats you're going to want for your build, or something like the Chronomancer if you want a little bit more tactical gameplay, or potentially the Stormweaver, as I think the Stormweaver is going to be pretty strong and pretty simple to play, allowing you to just focus on learning all the other aspects of the game. For melee, I would heavily recommend the Titan. Titan's going to be very simple, very powerful. It's going to feel great, and honestly, you can't go wrong with just getting a massive two-handed weapon and just pretty much hitting the whole screen and deleting everything instantly. I'm personally really excited for the Warbringer and the Warcry shenanigans that it has access to, and I think that might be fun if you want something a little bit more involved. And if you're interested in playing some sort of range builds, while the Deadeye and the Pathfinder are cool, and I'm a really big fan of poison builds in the Pathfinder, I think crossbows just honestly steal the show. And some sort of crossbow Deadeye build sounds really fun. Or more importantly, some sort of crossbow Witchhunter build sounds really fun and thematic. And I think it's going to be something that a lot of people are going to probably try as one of their first builds in early access. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to help you or discuss any of this further with you. Or you're free to come by my Twitch, where I stream every single day, and me and my community have been theory crafting PoE 2 stuff every single day. And if you have any questions, you're more than free to come by and ask them live as well. It's totally up to you. With all that said, I hope you kiddies enjoyed this video. I hope I made your decision making a little bit easier, and I hope to see you all in the next video.